Hello dear students, welcome to the computer class of standard 10. Today we are going to discuss the session number 3 of our chapter number 9, problem and problem solving. So in our previous session we have discussed about the components of a flow chart and how to create a simple flow chart. These things we have discussed in our previous session. So the component of a flow chart, that is the terminal symbol, input output symbol, process symbol, the decision symbol and connector symbol. And then after we have seen the simple example to draw the flow chart. Today we are going to solve the problem by drawing the flow chart. So let's just start it. So here you just see first problem number 1 is the fitting charge of a tile is rupees 10 per square feet. Now assume that the problem is to find the total cost of fitting tiles on the rectangular shaped town hall floor. Means we wants to do the flooring. So for the flooring, the per square feet the charge is 10 rupees. So the total cost we wants to find it out. So for that, first basic requirement is first we have to find out the area of that rectangular hole. So the first you have to find out the area, and after finding the area, what is the value of coming of area, you have to multiply it with the 10 and then you will get the total cost. So this is the process. You first need the area of a rectangle. So now we will draw the flow chart. So here you can see that is the flow chart. So first always your flow chart will begin with the start symbol. Okay. So first you have to do the start, then after the arrow will come into the next one. Now the next step is for the input. Okay. So now for the input, what is the area of a rectangle? That is length multiplied by breadth. So you have to provide the length and breadth value, then only you can find it out the A, that is area. Okay. So as the input you have to give the length and breadth value. Then after next is the process. Process to find the area. Okay. So now area is equals to length multiplied by breadth. So now you found the area. Now after finding the area, what is the next step? Find the total cost. So cost is equals to area multiplied by 10. So how many process are here? 2 process. First find the area and next find the cost. Now after finding the cost, you have to print the cost as the output. So next step is the output. Print the cost and then after ending symbol, that is the eclipse sign. Okay. So how many symbols are there? First 2 are the eclipse sign, that is the terminal symbol. Then after last and second last, that is the input output symbol, and at the middle that is the processing symbol, that is the rectangle sign. So this is the simple flow chart without any condition. Now we will discuss the next problem. So problem number 2. Suppose you have a very nice and round cricket ground at the city sports center. Now the authority wants to make fencing surrounding this ground. They also wants to cover the total surface with a lawn. So the authority wants to know how many meter the total fencing will run into. And they also wants to know the total surface area of the ground that needs to be covered with the lawn. So to solve this problem, we need to find the area and perimeter of a ground. So the formula to find the area of the circle is pi r square. 2 aspects we have to find. First the area of a circle and then after perimeter. So the formula you already know, you have done these things in the maths. Okay. So the formula to find the area of a circle, that is pi r square, and the perimeter value for that the formula is 2 pi r. Now once you know the formula, it is very easy. How we solve the flow chart or how we have drawn the flow chart in the problem 1, same as you have to do. First the start symbol, okay. Then after input. So here as an input what is required? only radius value. Okay, because 2 pi r square. So r means what? R refers to the radius of a ground. So that value you have to provide over here. Only radius value. Then after input what will come? Processing. So what is the process? First find the area, that is, and then after find the perimeter. So first we will see the flow chart. Okay, so start, input radius and area. Now pi r square was there. Okay, so r square means if you will do the multiplication of r 2 time means that is the r square. Okay, and in the maths terminology, the pi has a static value, that is the 3.14. So whenever pi is coming anywhere, you have to put the value at the place of pi, that is 3.14. So 3.14 multiply by radius, multiply by radius. Suppose if the radius value is a 10, then 3.14 multiply by 10, multiply by 10, like this. Then you will get the area. Okay. Now after getting the area, the second process that we need, that is the perimeter value. So for the perimeter, the formula is 2 pi r. Okay, so 2 is the static value. Again for pi we are having 3.40 and radius we have assumed as a 10. Okay, so 2 multiply by 3.14 multiply by 10. Then after you will get the perimeter value. Then after print the area and print the perimeter, that is the output of your program, and then after end. So this is again the simple program to find the area and perimeter of a circle. So the basic requirement here, the core part is the process. And for the processing, you must know the formulas, that how to find the area and circle of this one. If once you know that thing, then after the rest of the things are very easy with the help of components of a flowchart, that is the terminal symbols, input output symbols and processing symbols. Now we are going to discuss the next problem. Flowchart to find the youngest of two students. Means two students are there and we want to find who is the younger one. So if you will see here, then two aspects are there. Three aspects. Either the student 1 can be the younger one of student 2, or student 2 can be the younger one from student 1, or both are having the similar age. That is also possible. Okay, so now we have to draw the flow chart to solve that problem. So now we will see the flow chart of this. Okay, so first you have to start it, then after two values you have to input, that is the first student age and second student age 1 and age 2. Now we have to do the comparison. So compare age 1 and age 2. Now if both are having the same age, if age 1 is equals to age 2, then both the students have the same age. So both can be considered as a youngest one. So both the students have a same age, that process will follow, and then after end you just see the flow of execution. We are seeing the now center 1. Age 1 is equals to age 2. Then both students have the same age, and then after it will go to the end. Okay. Now if this condition is not true, then the next condition is there, if age 1 is less than age 2. So if age 1 is less than age 2 means age 1 print the first student is the youngest one. Okay. And if that condition will false, then age 1 is, if age 1 is greater than age 2, that means the age 2 means the second student is the youngest one. And in after the completion of this, the output will come either any 3 of 1, the output, any condition will be true. Okay. And at the last your flow of control will go to the end symbol. So this is to find the youngest of two students. Okay. Then after next flow chart. So now here the same question is there. Find the youngest student. But now that is among the 3 students. So some of the aspects are same only, but little bit change is there in the flow chart. because now you have to do the comparison with 3 students. Means if you are comparing the age 1 and student 1 and student 2 first, okay, so in that, if the student 1 is younger one, then you can't say the student 1 is the youngest, because now third person is also there. So then again you have to compare the student 1 with the student 3. Okay, now if then also the student 1 is younger one, then you can say that the student 1 is the youngest one. Okay, so we will understand it with the help of flowchart. So here you can see the start, and now we require 3 input, that is age 1, input the age of first student, that is age 1, input the age of second student, that is age 2, and the age of third student, that is age 3. Now we will do the comparison process. So first we will compare age 1 and age 2. Okay, so then after age 1 and age 2, first we will compare the equality. If age 1 is equals to age 2, okay, then further condition will come, as I told you. Okay, if age 1 and age 2 they both are equal, then again we have to check that age 1 and age 3 is also equal. So the next condition is age 1 is equals to age 3. If that condition is also true, means yes, then it will display the output all students have a same age, and then your flow of control will go to the end. So here the program will be terminated. Okay, now if they are not having the similar age, then what? If the value are not the same, then otherwise we have to compare age 1 and age 2. Okay, so if age 1 is less than age 2, now we are seeing the left hand side, students. So age 1 less than age 2. If this thing is correct, then again we will compare age 1 with the age 3. If here also age 1 is less than age 3, if that is yes, okay, then we will print the first student is the youngest one, as I told you. Okay, but suppose anyhow if the age 1 is not less than age 3, that means if the answer is no, then the flow of execution will go to the next arrow. You can see over here where the no arrow is going here, and here see one more condition is coming, if age 1 greater than age 2. Okay, so if the age 1 is greater than age 2, the same aspect will be there. So age 2 less than age 3. Okay, then it will print the second student is the youngest one. Means here if 2 is less than 1, and if 2 is less than age 3, age 2 is less than age 3, then it will print the second student is youngest one, and if that condition is false, if age 2 is not less than age 3, then if no will come. So in the no, where the flow of execution is going, in the third output, that is the print the third student is the youngest one. So then after the flow of control will go to the end. So this is the comparison process to compare to find the youngest student from the 3 students. So I hope you understood this flowchart. Some of the complexities there, students, now you are not getting, but just you have to understand these things, that how the logically it works, because you can see very easily everything has been shown to you. You can see the flow of execution very easily where the arrow is going. So when you are observing the arrow, you can easily find out that what will be the next step. So just you have to see the flowchart properly. Then after the next flowchart to sum of odd numbers till 99. Means we want to do the summation operation, the sum operation. But of what? Of only odd numbers, no even numbers. Odd numbers like 1, 3, 5, 7. And not only we want to display this number, we want to display the sum operation of this number. So 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 till number 99. So before showing a flow chart, I will give you one example to understand the flow chart in the better way. So first you just assume that you have the two boxes. Two boxes you have, one is in your left hand and one is in your right hand. Okay. Now you put one marble in your left hand side box. So one marble is kept. So initially you can say that the left hand box has the value 1 and the right one hand box, that is the initially at the beginning the right hand side box is the empty. Okay. Now what is the next step? Now you have to transfer the marble from the left hand side box to the right hand side. Okay. So now again you are transferring the marble, so that one marble has been kept over on the right hand side box. Okay. So now number left hand side box is the empty and right hand side box has the one marble. Understood? Now the next step, we will put the 3 marbles in the empty box in the left hand side. Again we are putting the 3 marbles on the left hand side, and now we are transferring that 3 marbles again into the right hand side box. So now how many marbles are there in the right hand side box? Before it was 1 and now we are transferring 3. So now that is 4. Okay. So have you understood the concept? Like this the odd summation will come. Before it was 3, 1, then after plus 3. Now again the left hand side box is the empty. Now in that you are putting the 5 marbles. Okay. And again you are transferring it into the right hand side. So now how it will be? That is 4, 1 plus 3 plus 5. Okay. So before it was calculation was 4 and now 4 plus 5, that means 9. So like this the process will continue over there. So now we will see the flow chart here. So first you have to start it with the start symbol, then after input time. So as I told you, 2 boxes we need, left and right. So here num is the left box, sum is the right box. As I told you initially, in the number box we are, in the left hand side box we are keeping the marble 1. And at that time the right hand side box was empty. So same initialization you have to do over here. Number is equals to 1 and sum is equals to 0. Now the next process is there to do the sum of odd numbers. So here the formula is sum is equals to sum plus number. So you have to do the summation operation of the both boxes. Means now we are transferring the marbles from the left hand side to the right hand side box. So right hand side box is our sum box. So in the sum box what we are keeping? Sum plus number. So initially the sum is the empty. So 0 plus number. So in the number 1 marble, that marble we are keeping over here. So that is 1. So that will become as a 1. So here you can see sum is 0 and number is a 1. So it will become 1. Now we are increasing the value of a number by 2 because we need only odd numbers. So how we can do this one? So number is equals to number plus 2. So number means the actual number value. What is it now? That is 1 plus 2. That means 3. So now the next number is a 3. So now it will check the condition that the number value is less than 100. So now what is the number value? 3. So 3 is less than 100. Condition becomes true. So if it is yes, then again the flow of execution will go up to the third step. Okay. Now again it will do the summation operation. So now sum is equals to sum plus number. So now before it was the sum value is we calculated, that is the 1. So now 1 plus 3. So sum will become 4. Okay. Then again next execution. So number is equals to number plus 2. Now what was the number value? 3. Okay. So now again 3 plus 2. So now number will become 5. So again it will check the condition that 5 is less than 100. Yes. Then again it will follow the same process. But see, when it will reach to the 99 and then when you will do the number plus 2, that means it will become the 101. Now you just check 101 is less than 100. No. So at that time your program will end there. Okay, means there the answer will come no, and then after you can print the sum of 99 numbers. So this is the exit condition, you can say students over here, means till 99 the condition will true and it will follow the same process again and again. But once the condition will become false, your program will terminate it there and it will go to the ending process. So I hope you understood this iteration process. This is the looping process, students. And see, if you are not keeping the correct condition at the last, that is number less than 100, if it is not written correctly by you, then the loop will go continue. Then it will become the infinite loop. It will never stop. So this condition is very important over here. So I hope you understood this flowchart to sum of a odd numbers till 99. Then after the next flowchart we are going to discuss, that is the flowchart of swapping of two numbers. Means two numbers, suppose we are having number 1 and number 2. In the number 1 we have stored the value 10 and in the number 2 we have stored the value 20. Now we want to make a program that the number 1 will hold the value of number 2 and number 2 will hold the value of number 1. Okay. So in the two ways it is possible. By adding one extra number and by with the help of the another method also. So both the flowchart we will discuss over here. So first start and give the two values, that is number 1 and number 2. So this is input A and B. So A is number 1 and B is number 2. Now we are having one extra variable C. So what we are doing, in the C is equals to A, means C was empty before. Okay, there was no any initialization. So here you just assume A has a value 10 and B has a value 20. So C is equals to A. In the C we are holding the value of A. Then that means A is empty now. Okay, so A is equals to B then and B is equals to C. Then after print A and B and end. Okay. And then after without extra variable. So print again, start your value flowchart, then after print give two values. So again you have to give the value for A and B, that means number 1 and number 2. Now A is equals to A plus B, B is equals to A minus B and A is equals to A minus B. Then the automatically swapping will be there, students, and print A and B. So how it is working, that I will show you over here with one example. So first we will see that A is equals to 10 and B is equals to 20. Okay. So now we have one extra variable C. So in the C we are storing the value of A, that means 10. Okay. Then after in a is equals to B. So that is 20 and B is equals to C. So that is 20. So have you seen now the value has been swapped. A value is a 20 and B value is a 10. The same thing we can do with the by doing one operation over here. So that is the thing you can see. First A is equals to A plus B. Okay. So A value is 10, B value is 20. So that will become 30. Okay. Then after again B is equals to A minus B. So now what is the A value? That is 30 minus B value is a 20. So what will be the A value? That is 10. Understood? Now next is the A. So A is equals to again A minus B. Okay. So now A value will be what? A value is a 30. B value is a 10. So now A value is a 20. So like this it will work. So here we have done the swapping operation. On this side you can see that we done with the extra variable C. And here we have done with the plus and minus sign operations. So like this you can swap the values over here with the help of the variables by doing some of the operation. So like this the flowchart will work over here. So now we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages of a flowchart. So let's just see it. So first we will see the advantages of a flowchart. So the advantage, first one, it is a pictorial representation. So it is very easy to understand. Okay. Next thing, that whenever you are preparing the flowchart for the computer instruction, for the computer program, then it will be very easy for the programmer to review the steps of that program and to correct it very easily. Then it helps in the decision making. Means when the different to solve any problem, we are having so many methods. So for each and every method you can prepare the flowchart, and then very easily you can compare the each and every flowchart, and then which one is the easiest method, that you can find it out very easily and very accurately. So these are the advantages of a flowchart. Now we will discuss the disadvantages of a flowchart. So now we will discuss the disadvantage. So first one disadvantage is that it is a pictorial representation. So you have to draw all the things perfectly. So drawing the flowchart is the large and the complex problem, and this is the time consuming as well. Then after it is the symbol. So if any change is there in your flowchart, then you have to perform, or you have to draw the whole flowchart again, because if the logic is changed, so it consists the symbol, so you have to modify the flowchart again and again. Then after, there are no standards specifying the details of the data that should be shown in a flowchart. Any standard is not specifying that how to represent the data in the flowchart. So flowchart for a given problem, although with the similar logic, may vary in terms of data shown. Okay, means there is no specific terminology. So if the same problem is there, then also that will be drawn the differently, means with the different content. So like this it will lead you to the confusion. So this is the limitations of a flowchart, and some of the times even the similar logic is there, just minor changes are there. Okay, then also you have to draw the whole flowchart again. So these are the disadvantages of a flowchart. So to overcome these advantages, one last method we have, that is the algorithm. So algorithm is what? Algorithm is also step-by-step instruction, but that is without pictorial representation in the English like language. So step-by-step instructions are there in the English language, so it is very easy to modify and very easy to write. No need to draw anything, so it is not a time consuming. Simply just how we are writing the content, same as we can write it on the algorithm. So now we will see it with the example. So here you can see the route map over here. Means one friend is there at your home and he wants to come at your school. So if you will draw the flow chart of this, then how it will be? It is the difficult. Yes. So here you can see this is one type of flow chart only with the pictorial representation. Okay. So with the help of this map, you can easily guide your friend. Okay, so if he is having this map with him, then he can easily come to your school just by giving the instruction that you can say that start from my home and take right and go for the 300 meter. Then after you just take the left turn and go straight for the another 100 meters. Like this you can guide, and very easily he will reach to your school. So same as with the help of flowchart, you can easily write it down the algorithm. Means if pictorial representation you have, and then based on that you can easily convert that data into the instruction. So first, now we will see one example of a algorithm to find it out the compound interest. So for that also the basic requirement is, first you must know the formula of a compound interest. So here we know the compound interest formula, that is the CI means compound interest, then P multiplied by 1 plus R divided by 100 raised to n minus P. So here you have to use this formula that you have already calculated compound interest in the maths. So now we will see here the P means the principal amount, R is the interest rate, and N is the time period. And with the help of these three things we are going to calculate our compound interest. So stepwise procedure is there. Step 1 is start, means first start your algorithm. Then after step 2, take 4 variables, that is P, N, R and Ci. So P and R, in the third step assign the values of P and R. Okay, because this is the basic requirement to find it out the compound interest. And Ci we wants to find. Now step 4, calculate the compound interest with the help of the formula. Then after step 5, print the value stored in a Ci and at the end. Same procedure is there. Have you observed, students? First start, then after the variable initialization, then after variable declaration, then variable initialization, what you need, and then assign the value of it. Then after process, then after output, and then after end. So like this very easily you can write it down the algorithm. So I hope you understood that how to write algorithm over here. And with the whatever the flowchart we have discussed. So in the pictorial representation is already there. So for all that flowchart you can very easily write it down the algorithm in this English like a form, stepwise. Okay. So this is the way to write it down the algorithm. So now we are going to conclude our chapter number 9, problem and problem solving. 3 problem solving techniques we have discussed, that is the pseudocode, flowchart and algorithm. So mostly used problem solving methods for the computer is the flowchart and algorithm to make the computer programs. So I hope you understood both the techniques well, and now we are going to conclude our chapter number 9. Thank you, students.